Hi, good afternoon, Santa Clarita. What a hot day it is today. But you know what? I am so grateful for today because I looked out and the sky was blue. So we're getting things contained, and I know you all have been hearing about the fire all week, and it's been quite serious. But we would like to, as two doctors, talk about the residual effects of the fire, some emotions people have felt and are starting to feel when something tragic like this happens. So we'd like for you to call in if you have a story or a feeling about the fire. Greg, you were evacuated.
Yes, right? I was, for 4 nights.
4 nights. What did you take?
I took things I needed, like clothing, a few changes of clothing, my toothbrush, important things.
Okay, important things. That's what it was. But what we'd love for you, we do have someone to talk about her feelings who works at the station, and she's going to come in and just kind of talk about the emotions and fear and grief and even the air quality now. So please call us at 298-5487, and that's 298-5487. We'd love to hear from you. But I do want to give a shout out to Carl, who owns the station, Carl Goldman. He was a trooper during all this, and I was able to listen, and I'm just really proud to be a teeny tiny part of this family at KHTS. They were right there telling everybody what's going on, and then the community has stepped up to the plate in such a huge way. And I'm impressed. I'm glad I moved here, and I'm just enjoying it. But I want to hear about, Greg, your experience having to evacuate. I mean, how did you feel when they came to the door?
Well, I was mostly wanted just to stay where I was.
Of course.
But I've been evacuated before there, so I was kind of ready for it. And but I like to just to go backwards a little bit. Is Carl did a great job this week, and they worked hard. Justin worked hard. T-Cats was here day after day, working.
Yes.
And I was drawn to AM radio more than I ever am. And I just had to listen. And I since I don't have a radio in my except in my car that gets that. I know there's a download, but I didn't do that, and I would listen to my cell phone, but it was just wanting to know what was going to happen, And I left. I had to go to a funeral up in the desert, high desert, and I left at 2:00 on Friday, and that's when the fire started. And they were blocking down 14 North, so I had to get off the freeway and drive around to get there. And I said, okay, I'd be fine. So I come back the next day, and then the fire's gotten much worse. So as soon as I sat down at 3:00 on Saturday, knocked on the door, the police say everybody should move. So I get up and I get going. And
so you packed your toothbrush and
I just got going.
Went.
Yeah, I figured that's an opportunity to buy new clothes, I guess.
Yeah. I think I didn't have to evacuate, but I could see the smoke, and I was imagining what people were going through. And I was thinking, now, what is the first thing that I would do? What's the first thing you grab? And I know I'd grab my dog. I mean, that's it. And cash.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, my dog
your debit card.
And right, things like that would be what I would do. I don't know. I'd really like to hear what other people have done, and I know people have just been great in the community. And as a therapist, I'd like to say, don't be surprised at some emotions that some of you all may be feeling now that it's over. And as it's over, then you're able to kind of breathe and feel some of the feelings. And also with trauma, the brain shuts down, the amygdala kind of shuts down and doesn't allow you to remember the absolute points or the facts. What it does is let you feel the feelings. So sometimes there's post-traumatic stress disorder. This has been a big deal here. It really is. I'm used to hurricanes in Florida. Hurricanes I can handle. Fires, scare me. There isn't a whole lot of warning, and it's frightening. So, I'd like to talk some about fear, how we feel, and was that a real fear? You're darn right, it was a real fear. And now we might be experiencing some anxiety, and I'm just wondering how people are feeling afterwards. Are you exhausted? What's really going on with you? And you might need to seek help. Wouldn't be a long time, but just to be able to talk about what happened and put it in the proper context. In other words, to know that it's not happening now, it happened then, it's not the same thing, but you will probably re-experience the feelings and not understand it. If you smell something, if you smell smoke, if you get in your car or see somebody or just anything with your senses, it'll bring it back. So just kind of be aware of it and be aware how fortunate we all are, and some are not so fortunate. So
I after I was evacuated, I felt safe, but I was worried for people I knew lived up in the canyons and patients that lived up in the canyons, because I know some of them lived. They kept saying Iron Canyon's on fire. Oh, I have patients on that street. And then this oh, I have patients on that street. So I was worried, and I was hoping that they got out and their houses weren't damaged and their animals and et cetera weren't injured. So I had that kind of fear where I was afraid for them.
right.
I wanted them to be healthy, like last time I saw them.
Well, as a doctor, you're very compassionate.
I am.
Yeah. We're both very compassionate and caring, and I think that's kind of what we wanted to talk today is how you feel afterwards. And this has been such a big family in Santa Clarita, and with the show, we really want to know any feelings or thoughts, and we are on live 298-5487. So call us. We don't have to identify you, but we'd just like to know feelings, thoughts, experiences. I mean, what did you take, or what when you left? I know a few fires ago my daughter had to leave her home, and she laughed at herself at what she grabbed. She said she grabbed money, her dog, and clean underwear. I guess I don't know if that comes from always
mothering probably.
The mothering, yeah. Always wear clean underwear. So she said she didn't know why, but that's what she grabbed, and out she went. So it is funny what you value. And
well, I think it's also what's interesting is when in this incident you have fear, the fear their house is going to burn down, you're going to be damaged, the dog's damaged, the kids are hurt. It turns into generosity, because you're at the hotel or wherever you happen to be, and all of a sudden you hear these outpourings. Can we get some more water for the firemen? Can we get so and so for these people? And the outpouring was huge. They had more things than they could give away, and that just shows the generosity that people love people.
What?
Yeah.
That is interesting. Do tragedies tear people apart or bring them back together? And I agree with you. I think, even if couples or families are going through some hard times, they're fighting together to survive, and it brings you closer. It kind of gets you, as a therapist, I would think, to let's get real. We can talk about the petty things and, gee, I don't like the way he eats, or I don't like the way she does this or that. But, when it comes down to survival, you're together, you're taking care of your family, and you get down, what's that song, to the heart of the matter. And you can get through good things. And, couples, I've always said this, and of course we're talking about feelings, but I have to always add a sexual piece. Couples who have good sex get through tough times better than those who don't. And studies have shown that. So I did have to add that piece as a sexologist, and you count on me for that, don't you?
I do. I every week I wait for this moment
for me to come up with something.
Yeah. But I had been evacuated once before for 3 days, and I learned from that time before what to do. And the thing to do is get a hotel right away,
because the hotels fill up, don't
yeah,
they?
as soon as they knocked on the door, I go, The last time I just went to the Hyatt. I said, okay, I'll check out because I think it'll be fine the next day.
I know a good hotel.
That's right, yeah. And so the next time they said there's no more rooms left, so I had moved to the Hilton. And then they evacuated Sand Canyon, and then the Hilton was all filled. So then I had to go to a not so nice hotel in the valley.
Oh.
And so this time, as soon as I got the knock on the door from the police, I got online and typed in my reservation for 4 days, 5 days, and
Immediately.
I feel so much smarter now than I was last time.
Sat by the pool, had a margarita, and
Yeah, I didn't do either one of those. Darn, I should have.
Oh, you didn't pack your bathing suit. That's why.
No Speedos this time.
No Speedos. Oh my goodness. But after tragedies too, we've talked about fear and dealing with that, but there's also grief. And whether you've lost some stuff, well, stuff can be replaced, there's almost a loss of your innocence, and that I'm always going to be safe, I'm always going to be all right, and it does put you on edge and lets you realize that something could happen, and we don't have our innocence anymore. And what do you do with that? I mean, do you live in fear the rest of your life? And I would say absolutely not. But you live every day and be present every day as best you can. We were hearing a song before the show about "Live Like You Are Dying." It was on, and we all are. So it's nice to see what we have and what's really important, and to reevaluate.
That's true. I think also, some people are things people.
Yeah.
They have all these things that they want to protect because they love them. Other people, like, well, if the house burns down, I'll build a new one. And I wonder what how our makeup is different from your perspective. Why that happens?
That's a great question. I don't know, and I'd like people to call in. Come on, people, call in. The fire's over now. It's getting contained, and we want to know how you feel. And sometimes if a person talks about their feelings and how things affected them, then it allows other people to feel better. So it's almost a community thing to be able to share and talk about what has happened. And I just think now is the time to do it. And the thing stuff, I remember somebody talked about, well, you'd get your jewelry, wouldn't you? That was never a thought to me. I guess I don't value that. I value...
You're probably not much of a things person.
I don't think I'm a things person.
Right.
Packed up my car when I moved here with very little.
Yeah, I think the other thing about this is the generosity of, neighbors who live to get close to each other but don't talk to each other. All of a sudden, they're best friends. They're helping each other, moving things, doing whatever they can to help them. And that kind of, I don't know if that's from the fear or the
compassion,
or the relief that you're okay, that you do that.
I think we do tend to be more generous when we're okay, and grateful, and not having the survivor's guilt if I can do something for someone else. I know in Florida, we had a lot of hurricanes in Florida, and I always opened my house up because somehow I never lost electricity. I was one of the few, and I had more strange people on my couch when I'd wake up. It's kind of like, I did have a professional baseball player once. That was kind of fun, but it was kind of like, well, who are you, and welcome, and people would bring food, and it was a sad thing, but we were all so grateful that we were okay. And so it was almost celebratory. And, I'm wondering if that's happened with people in Santa Clarita, if some are kind of celebrating some good things, or how they're feeling, hey, I survived this, or I survived, my neighbor didn't, especially if you're living down the street from one of the homes that burned down. That's...
Yeah, I think that, the sigh of relief, so quote unquote, the sigh of relief, where people come back into the community. They don't know if anything's damaged. They don't know anything. They come back, they just drive to their house, they're hoping things are fine. So that moment when they first see the house, whether it's burnt or standing perfectly, can you imagine your emotions at that moment?
I can't.
No, I can't either.
Yeah, and unless you're there. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the air quality and how it affects us physically. I mean, we're talking about the emotional, but there's some physical effects too, and we're hearing the air quality is not good. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean to someone who has asthma or?
Well, what happens with these fires is that they put carbon into the atmosphere. The ashes and things are carbon, and the carbon is not good for us to breathe. It irritates your nose, irritates your lungs, and irritates your eyes. So people may get more pink eye type of things.
Somebody said smoking a cigarette is like sucking air from a tailpipe. Is that the same kind of thing? Is that carbon monoxide?
Well, there's carbon monoxide made, but the main thing that's in the air is the ashes.
Okay.
You can't even see most of them, but they have a way of measuring, like and if you're in the valley, like all of Sand Canyon, Placer Canyon really are in a valley of the mountains around them, and all that dust and ash and inhalant problems, it all filters down to the ground. Even now, if you go up there, you'll see that the sky is not as blue as it should be because there's stuff still in the air, has to settle. It would be great if it rained. Yeah. It's not going to rain. It's not going to rain. But it'd be great if it did.
Oh.
It would really be great if it did. We could get all that out of the air.
I love, after anything happens, or you mentioned that you had gone to a funeral, or after something like that, if it rains, it just kind of cleanses the air. It's like a cleanse for all of us, and I think it's a nice thing to have happen. Mm-hmm. So I do hope it rains. Are there any people or particular groups of people who are more susceptible and should stay inside right now? I mean, who would that be?
Yeah, that would be anybody with chronic lung disease. So the emphysema patients especially, or anybody with a weakened immune system. So if you have a condition that makes you get infections more than you should, you really should stay inside.
What about little kids, babies?
Little kids should stay inside. Baby kids should stay inside temporarily, but it's not for long term.
What about old people like us?
As long as they don't have any lung disease.
Okay, so we're good.
We're good.
All right. I just need to know these things. Have to make it all about me.
Next time you go golfing, you'll be all set.
Good. And it's interesting. I didn't see anybody on the golf course either for a while.
Oh, really?
Nobody was golfing. So
between the heat and the smoke, it wasn't a peak experience.
No. It was really, really bad. And like I said, we after the break, we're going to have Lori Kozik. She works here at KHTS, and she and I were just sharing what she went through, and maybe she can speak for some of the people here at the station. I mean, these people were so on for so many days and working so hard to get the information out. I can't imagine not having some strong feelings. And, Justin, we're going to ask you too after the break how it affected you and where you are. So
I think he just worked so much he doesn't even think about it.
Is just probably exhausted. But everybody, I wonder how Carl is doing. I mean, he was on such a high, that adrenaline, that, coming down from that, got to have some feelings about it. So anyway, we are going to go to break, and we will be back. Please call us. We really think this is important for the community to share. So call at 298-5487. And you're listening to
KHTS in downtown Newhall,
your hometown station.